Well, welcome to the May 13, 2025 meeting of the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee. My name is Anton Malner and I am the chair of the committee. Tonight, we are joined by District Manager Jesus Perez and Community Coordinator Brian Lafferty. This meeting is called to order at 6:33 p.m. As a reminder, New York State law requires all committee members who are not able to attend the meeting in person to have their cameras on and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order till the time the meeting is adjourned. Members of the public who are attending virtually, you can raise any questions or comments that you have through the Q&A feature of Zoom. Members of the public who are here in person, you can raise any questions you have by raising your hand. If there is time following the committee's discussion, we will field questions from the public. Tonight, John Keller will be taking the minutes. Thank you very much, John. Okay, we'll take attendance by roll call. Brian?
Thanks, Anton. Committee members, I will call your name. When your name is called, please say present. I'll announce if there is quorum. Page, I don't see Page. Okay, I'm back. John Keller.
Present.
Thank you. Anton Mullen.
Present.
Thank you. Ann Sullivan.
Present.
Thank you. Sarah Whittington.
Present.
Thank you. Michael Anwell.
Here.
Just in time.
Talk about it, really.
Justin Goldberg.
Speaking
I
of.
thought I was the last one present.
And again, Paige Judge. But with 6 or 7 members, we have a full.
Okay. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and is reflected on the screen before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda. Members of the committee to object to adopting the agenda, please raise your hand. Okay. Seeing no objections, the agenda of tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes for the March 27th, 2025 meeting were distributed ahead of time by the board office. If there is no objection, we will adopt the minutes as drafted. Members of the committee who object to adopting the minutes, please raise your hand. Okay. Seeing no objections, the meetings for the March 27, 25 meeting are adopted. Minutes from the April 24th, 2025 meeting are being drafted. Actually, they were drafted already, right? But not in time to get to this meeting. When they're ready, probably the next meeting, we will distribute them and take a vote whether they should be adopted. Some ground rules. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's go through ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. Committee members who are here in person, if you have a question about committee business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and I will identify you so you can speak. Committee members unable to attend in person, if you have a question about committee business, you may raise your hand through Zoom and I will identify you so you can speak. All committee members, it is extremely important that only one person speak at a time so that the members of the public watching at home can understand what is being said by each committee member. The chat function for committee members present via Zoom should not be used for committee business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during a meeting. Okay, tonight's agenda. Okay, item 1 was withdrawn. It's a new cannabis application for retail dispensary license for Indoor J1 Ventures Incorporated, doing business Alexis Bronson at 514 3rd Avenue. That has been withdrawn. It seems that the premises that was going to be used is not gonna be used for a cannabis shop, but for a restaurant called Leslie.
Yay.
Yay, it's
Wow.
great. Yay.
Let's see what happens. Item number 2 was also withdrawn. A new cannabis application for retail dispensary license for 5507 103 103rd LLC, doing business as to be determined at 210 East 34th Street or 212 East 34th Street. There's still an issue about that. But it has been drawn, and as I recall from the last meeting, we never saw a signed lease. There was no posting that this was being presented at that time. And they did not fill out the CV6 questionnaire, so I don't know what interest they have in opening
Yeah.
dispensary there. Item number 3. A new cannabis application for retail dispensary license for Denny Kogan, Belrose Migrant Center, doing business as Cannabis NYC at 223 East 14th Street. Okay, is there a representative for Cannabis NYC available?
Mr. Corbin, you should be able to.
Yes, hi, it's Danny Cogan. How are you guys?
Okay,
Thank you for having me.
okay, I think there was a question about whether the lease has actually been signed.
The situation was because we're waiting for 18 months with LCM, and we had another location with 212 since September, I believe. And that was Columbia Care. So, and we were supposed to grant our provisional license last month, and LCM still never granted our provisional license. So that's why we hoping we're going to get a provisional license at this coming OCM meeting. So that's why we nobody's comfortable at this time to just sign something without getting nothing 100% approved with OCM, unfortunately, because we already spent over 600,000. I know we said 300,000, but in the past 19 months, it was 600,000. The checks were cleared for rent alone. So we can't just keep on spending on leases when OCM is just, on standby with us. So we're hoping to get our provisional license this month with the next OCM meeting, because we already done our, we cleared everything. We're just waiting on OCM. Everything is pending now.
Okay, are there any comments from members of the committee regarding this application? Yes, sir.
I was by the venue today. I see in the collection of information you sent us, there is a notice of public meeting this evening. However, on the door at around 11:30 this morning, that notice was not there. Is there some reason for that?
I believe that, like I told the community board, they have people there on 14th Street selling illegal activities to minors. And I have a feeling when I was placing the notifications, the notice, I think that there was people watching me, and I think that they were talking to one another, because 14th Street is a big issue because they're selling to underage kids. Because there was a store across the street on 22, what was that? Give me 1 second. It's Bang World at 223 East 14th Street that the sheriff had to close them down. It took him 2 years to close them down. And 246 East 14th Street on the same block that I personally purchased illegal cannabis, and 247 East 14th Street. They're just basically selling to underage kids. I personally took pictures and I did send to the committee. Unfortunately, because there's all college students there. So we're trying to solve the problem. It's a big issue over there on 14th Street, unfortunately. And the only way to stop this if we make it legal. That's honestly the only way to stop it.
Yes,
Hi, and what's his name again?
Danny Cogan.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. That's fine.
Michael here, just, can you explain what the $600,000, budget
Yes,
is?
Yes, on Columbia Care, we were paying 40,000 per month on rent. And we were paying like, that was like, what's 5 months, 5 months on rent on that. And then our initial application, when we started in October, we had our location at, in Long Island. And we didn't even know that you're not allowed to, originally in Long Island, that you weren't even supposed, that there was no, that you're not even supposed to apply in Long Island, and there was no way to us to even know. So we were paying rent 36,000 per month. So for over 12 months, we were just paying 36,000 per month, waiting on OCM's approval. So if you add 36,000 per month times 12, and all the checks cleared,
I mean, my question would be like, why are you spending that money?
that's part of the criteria, because that's part of the,
Right,
that's part of that's part of what OCM required. OCM said, go get a lease first, and then file the application. So part of that, you have to get a lease, a secure lease.
you
And to
gotta
get a
pay.
secure lease, you have to start paying rent.
well,
And I'm waiting over, I applied in October 15th, and today's already, it's gonna be almost 2 years.
do you have to reapply? Do you have to change locations?
Okay, so the way it works is this: you just got to notify the community board and secure, like what I'm doing right now. Basically, I'm notifying the community board, and we can't just sign a new lease. I mean, thank God I'm working with the landlord.
Yeah. But
So
I
we
was-
can't just sign a lease.
Okay, so let me just make things clear. You do not have a signed lease yet.
But we do have a lease. We do have a lease. I signed it personally, but the landlord is willing to not sign it till, I'm hoping to get my license by next week. Because because my number was already up. I seen an adjuster. Everybody saw my application. I did the processor. I did everything. I follow all the guidelines. There should not be a reason why they're not giving me a provisional license.
Okay, just to make sure I understand. The OCM requires an executed lease before you can apply for the license. Now, if you
Which
don't
we
have.
gave that to them. So yes. So
No.
originally, we gave that to them, and that's why they're issuing us a provisional. So that's why now they're giving us a provisional license, and with that provisional license, we can move it over to the 223.
From one location to this new location.
That is correct. That's why it's called a provisional license. That is correct.
Ann, did you have a question?
I have a few questions. And I have to say, I had some concerns about this. When I just was looking over it, because I looked at the OCM site, and we have 2 cannabis applications tonight, and they're such a contrast. First of all, your questionnaire from us does say you have an executed lease. And
I do have a lease. I signed it.
you do not, you signing it is not an executed lease. That means, like, I could go to Staples and get a lease, and
Well, no, the landlord issued us a lease.
but
But-
they had done, and there was like a line there, like it's supposed to be a lease, So I'm sorry, that's just not like, again, a sort of a contrast to.
Would you like
the
me to
other.
call the landlord? I can call the landlord now because I just spoke to him before.
Yeah. Not the point. So the other thing that I find concerning is that I went to the OCM website,
Okay.
where you can look at licenses. and it shows nothing pending or active at that site.
That's right. Because first you have
But
to get a,
shouldn't it be pending? Shouldn't it be pending?
if you're
Like,
pending, no, because that's the thing. If you're pending, then we did everything with the community board.
The Yeti Club, the other place that's applying, if you go, it shows on the OCM site as, I think pending, yeah, the pending it is. I do see a pending license on the OCM site. So, I mean, I'm sorry, none of this, we don't know you as a vendor.
No, I
We-
understand. Well, I do own, let me tell you who I am. I own Cohen Fashion Optical Stores. So I am in a, I own retail stores. That's what I was,
I'm just saying, the community board and this committee does
Of
not
course.
have experience with you, so we
I
are
understand.
going off the paperwork we get.
I
And-
understand.
Hmm.
Mhm.
No,
I-
I understand. I understand that, of course.
I'm getting a little confused here because my understanding is,
I cannot be on the
Yes.
map because I don't have a license. That's the problem.
If you had a pending license, it seems that it would be there.
There is no pending. It's either, well, you have to get a
Well-
provisional.
You know what, we could go to the website and look, but seriously, like the other applicant in front of us today, when I go to the OCM website, they have a provisional, it
I
shows.
emailed you,
shows
I
the
understand. I emailed you guys all the emails that went with OCM. I did forward you guys emails through OCM. That's why I'm hoping to receive my provisional license. I was supposed to get my provisional license already a long time ago.
A business on.
somehow we seem to
He said
be
it was
getting the
originally
cart before
started
the horse
today.
over here. Now,
He said. he
let's
was-
go to this timeline.
That's what
You
he
had
said.
another
Right.
location,
I had a location 212 across the street, Columbia Care.
okay. And
Would
what
that
happened?
be, I'm sorry, can I just, was that the medical dispensary?
That is correct, yes. And I was with Community Board 3. That is correct. And I also emailed that to you as well with pictures. Yes,
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have this medical dispensary at 212 East 14th Street.
yes, across the street.
Okay,
But unfortunately, the landlord didn't wait and then at one point he just gave up and he rented it to our physical therapy. So if you look today, there's a physical therapy just moved in.
okay, so we're saying the dispensary you had at that location is no longer there.
That is correct.
All right, it's a physical therapy or whatever it is.
That is correct, yes.
All right, so you don't have a lease there anymore because it's become a different,
That is correct.
okay.
Yeah,
Now you've moved, you're going across the street.
yes,
You're dealing with a landlord who has not signed the lease yet. Is that
Yeah.
correct? All right, so you
that is
don't have
correct.
an executed lease means that both parties will have signed off on it. So we don't have an executed lease.
We have a LOI because because we can't,
Letter of intent is no legal bearing here.
I
It's got to
understand.
be an executed lease. Now, you've submitted all the paperwork to the Office of Cannabis Management for some time already,
Yes, 19 months.
including the non-executed lease.
Well, they had my original application with the lease.
The original application for what? The location we're talking about right
The-
now?
No, it was an original location. It was a different location in Long Island,
In Long Island. Right. We're talking about East 14th Street in New York City, not
Yes,
Long Island.
I
Okay,
understand, yes. And then we had to transfer it over.
again, the lease for that premises, if it's still viable, is in Long Island, not in Community Board 6, not on East 14th Street.
Yes,
Okay, now, you may have sent this lease into the Office of Cannabis Management,
yes,
but that approval that they're gonna give you, that they may give you. Will be
They're not
for-
giving approval. That's why they're giving a provisional.
In Long Island.
No, first they give you a provisional, and then they say, okay, here's your provisional license, go look for a new location. So that 223 is to replace the Long Island location perhaps. Because Long Island, you cannot open a dispensary in Long Island.
Oh.
It's impossible to open up a dispensary in Long Island.
It seems like there are.
It's against the law to open up in Long Island.
Usually that was the case.
So, okay, so,
So wish that was the case.
so we don't have a provisional
We don't,
license
well,
for 13th Street because.
because OPM didn't get to my application yet for the past 19 months.
We can talk about it.
Well, I don't know why we're even discussing this.
Yeah.
Because if you have no provisional license,
Which
the
I-
OCM hasn't gotten to your application.
But it's part of the criteria. The reason why we're talking here, because this is
Yeah,
part
but
of
you
what
have-
we have to do.
Sir, you have to have an executed lease.
Would you like me to sign a lease? I'll get you a lease by tonight. I can sign the lease. And then what happens? Let me ask you a question. And what happens if OCM is gonna take another 12 months? Would you like me to keep paying rent? I will be no more than happy to do that.
We
Sir,
can have this
sir,
conversation about.
we're here
Approving it.
to make-
I understand that. I have no problem signing the
And-
lease. I have the lease.
and
The
let me
main
tell you,
issue is that
The main
the-
issue is that the OCM is slow. That it's
that,
out of-
well, it's not, yes,
May I
yeah.
finish? May I
Yeah.
finish? The main issue is that the OCM is taking its time. We
Yes.
are here as members of the community, representing the community as to whether we would recommend that your shop be set up on East 14th Street, not whether the legalities that the OCM seems to be slow on is our responsibility. So question is, before you can come before this committee, the legalities with the OCM have to be satisfied, and then we will make a decision based on the.
I'll get you a lease by tonight. I'll have the landlord sign the lease and I'll forward it to you.
Please should
That's not a
go
problem.
to Office of Cannabis Management.
But I forward you all the emails from the past 6 months, conversations with,
Talking about your obligation to the Office of Cannabis Management. You may send us all the paperwork you want.
it's not paperwork, it's emails going back and forth with me and the office of OCM.
No, a priori, you have to finish with the OCM first. I
But
thank
you-
you for your time. I don't believe. the
But it's
committee-
not finished with the OCM. This is part of the criteria what OCM is asking for. The first thing they ask is for the community board before you
No.
can apply.
No,
Not-
no,
not-
no,
No.
no,
not in order.
no, I'm sorry. We've been doing these licenses for the last 2 years.
The first
No.
thing they do is they go and they said, go get a stamp from the community board, right? So you guys stamped it. Is that correct?
No, we don't
No.
stamp anything, no.
Don't they give you a notification, a 30-day, okay, don't they ask for notification?
Time.
He's talking about the notice to
Yeah.
municipality,
That is
Yes.
correct.
which
And
is,
that's the first, that is correct.
which is stamped, with the date that it was received.
Right, that's.
And
a
that's the
notice-
first step.
That's not to the community board.
That is the case.
Yeah. Okay. I suggest, sir,
And that's the first step. And then the second step is the task force meeting.
I'm sorry, the what?
And the next step is where we are today.
The community board meeting.
The task, no.
But you haven't fulfilled your obligation to the Office of Cannabis Management.
For us to
Because
have a
you,
resolution.
Huh?
For us to have a resolution, we have
Right, we
to,
have-
yeah,
yeah.
well, and.
I know, but under the circumstance, unfortunately, this is where we are right now. It's not like, what, you want me to give you a lease and start paying? I have no problems doing it.
You can't get the landlord to sign a lease.
What I-
By-
All right.
Of course, I'll get the landlord to sign a lease because
One at a time.
look, OCM is holding that place for me. I don't know if you guys understand. The last person, OV Enterprise, got the lease because OCM assumed it was for me. So we were together on it. The only reason why OV Enterprise, look, that location is being held for me. This is where you guys don't understand. OCM holds location for certain people. OCM will not release that location for anybody. That location is being held for me. You guys
Okay.
just don't understand what OCM does.
I understand that. Jesus?
What I would suggest, there's no time right now, it's after business hours for us to call OCM and like confirm. what
Please
this-
do. Yes, let's do that. Let's verify.
And just,
Yes, sir.
May I finish? Please.
Jeez.
My goodness. There's no time for us to confirm any of that. What I will say is OCM has pretty much said to community boards, when we get those notices to municipalities, a clock starts.
Mm,
Whatever's going on with those applicants, with OCM, has nothing to do with us. But our responsibility is to opine if we in fact are going to opine within the time frame. So if you guys have anything to say, even this thing may go through, it may not, but if you're gonna say anything, I would pass a resolution one way or the other tonight. And then let all of this play out with OCM and this person as it will. But if you're
Yes, sir.
going to do a reso, do it tonight.
Can we do a resume make it contingent on
Well,
the
I-
approval or?
I'm not super comfortable with that.
No, you know, we're here representing the community. We're not here to,
we
Represent.
also have letters too that were sent to us.
yes, John.
I was gonna say, if there is a view from the community that this establishment is okay, then we should say pending that, it's, we agree with that, but we're, you know, but if there is a view from if there's objection from the community, then we need to record that,
Okay.
it seems.
Yeah.
Okay, and having said that, are there any comments from members of the community?
On paper, yes.
Yeah.
We have 2 letters as well.
Perhaps someone could summarize those letters for the record.
The summary is we don't want any more cannabis shops. Too many cannabis shops, too close to schools, and community centers. And the concern of illegal shops on top of legal shops.
And the concern that the legal shops are not being policed appropriately by the Office of Cannabis Management. I think that was the only, you have any?
The 2 letters, one that
Jessica's
contains
letter?
the Jessica letter, which is involved and she's been on top of it. So
But this is not a letter, I'm not trying to be difficult, but this is not a letter specifically about this.
Yeah.
No,
General.
it's about
Right, it's in general.
in general.
Yeah.
What is the feeling about the committee of resolution of objection or no objection? With the stip that they will have complied with all the requirements of the Office of Cannabis Management.
Let me ask a question.
Sure.
If, let's say, he had, the duties were fulfilled with OCM, would people be in support of it or not? Because I see those as 2 different issues. One is the procedural aspect, and the other is, how does the representatives of the community feel about it?
do we know about other cannabis shops right in that area besides the?
Yes,
ones?
well, I do, I mean, because I looked it up and I looked on the OCM website. But because this is not even listed as a pending application, you can't run a proximity report on it. So,
Okay, can I help you guys with this? Okay,
Right.
the population is 84,000 people. Under the PCA, it is, you have days over there on 14th Street next to Best Buy. Then you have travel agency, and then, and then-
We're discussing this in committee.
Yeah.
okay, I apologize. I was just trying to help. That's fine. I apologize.
I also am concerned that the questioner said, yes, there's an executed lease,
Yeah,
and there is not.
No.
And like one page had like a line on the,
Mhm, oh, somebody wants
I
to
just,
say
I don't,
Well, I put the line, instead of me putting NA, I put the line as,
something. Oh, he doesn't know. But somebody has a hand up.
Yeah, Paige has her hand raised.
Can you,
Paige has her hand raised.
yeah, Paige?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Okay, I want to know how close this is to the is it YWCA, the Jewish YWCA?
The YWHA?
Yes,
The one on
Unfortunately.
14th Street and First Avenue?
Like
Oh, I-
what?
Close.
not right by it. I thought it was right by it. Okay, sorry.
That could easily be, well, it won't be within 500 feet.
Okay. All right, so,
Yeah, so I was able to run a proximity report for the address. It says there's no active licenses within 1,000 feet, no pending licenses within 1,000 feet. No place
Right.
of worship within 200 feet, but Manhattan Comprehensive Night Day High School is within 495 feet. But that's on a different street.
But
Yeah, well.
there's not, but that's implying that like there's not a pending license for this location. Right?
just as a point of information, Jesus, does there have to be an actual pending license to show up on the proximity report? How do we know that there's a pending license application out there?
That has never been made clear to us by OCM, but what I would advise. Treat this thing as if it's going to go all the way through. So if you have something to say about this particular location, this particular operator,
Can object.
say it.
Hmm.
Otherwise,
Objection.
no comment or no objection.
Yeah.
OCM has made it clear
I-
that this is your one shot to sort of say everything you're gonna say about that.
And then he can move on.
I would not be comfortable voting for a reso no objection
I
on this.
second that.
Okay, so does that mean a resolution of objection?
A resolution of objection, do I hear a motion or a resolution of objection?
Just so you guys know, that location was approved by LCM and it got removed. OV Enterprise did,
Well, there is a school right around the corner.
No, that,
Anyway.
right.
Is there a resolution?
is there a resolution of objection?
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll
And
move.
a second,
Sure. Right.
who seconded it?
Second.
Michael,
Object.
so. So I can.
and I owned Cohen Optical for over 20 years, so I'm a good operator, just so you guys know.
Thank you very much, sir.
Is it a resolution of objection or no objection? I just want to get this straight. Objection.
On what grounds?
I do not feel that the operator has been straightforward with us.
So it's less,
That's my
okay,
reason.
so I just wanna understand, it's not about that, like, any substantive, like, about the,
It's not that about that location.
it's about it's about lack of straightforwardness and incredible.
And I would also just suggest as you go forward that other licenses that when we have seen leases, they say. This lease is sort of contingent, like you have to pay a few months, but if you don't get the license.
I know, but we had an issue with the landlord
Yes.
with this location, so now that's why the landlord is not given. We already
I'm just
had an
saying,
issue.
if
I
you
understand,
have-
but there's an issue with this location and the landlord, that's
Right,
why.
I'm just trying to give you some business advice, and you know what?
I appreciate
There's
it,
a
I
lot
understand,
of
and I appreciate it, and that's why I'm trying to explain
Thank you.
myself.
Okay. That's the-
Discussion is
We
closed.
should just leave that as a resolution and then he can move on.
Yeah,
Wait, if
Let's
it's,
go to the resolution. Yes, sir.
if is with an objection, is that a permanent objection, or is it a, is it a matter that can be revisited and,
That will not be revisited by the community.
okay, so it's not being revisited by us.
I mean, if he came back with a different location.
If he
just
withdrew
a
this
big-
one and came back with
But for
it.
this specific location,
So what I would suggest, maybe write your reso first and then make your motion.
Okay, so the motion was made and seconded for a resolution of objection. For a new cannabis application for retail dispensary license for Jenny Kogan, Belrose Migrant Center, doing business as Cannabis NYC. At 223 East 14th Street. Whereas.
Listen, I'm gonna get the lease and I'll forward you guys the lease, because this is ridiculous.
This is, the lease goes to Office of Cannabis Management.
Whereas Danny Cogan, principal, appeared before the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee of Manhattan Community Board 6 on May 13th, 2025, CB6 having jurisdiction of the premises and license application process. Whereas the establishment proposes to operate as a cannabis retail dispensary, whereas the establishment's proposed hours of operation are Sundays to Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Whereas a member of the community submitted comments against the application.
Two members? Right? Oh, one of them was general. Yeah.
Can I come back next month and give you a lease? Can I do that? Can I get a 30-day extension to get a lease?
There's no time. OCM, once they submit their notice to municipality, that clock starts.
Wait, isn't there an opportunity for an extension?
We've already submitted.
That is the,
Because
this
of,
was. the
because of when the
extension.
full boards are timed,
Got it.
this is your shot. Unless he withdraws his notice to municipality, then we tell OCM and then he submits it again later. That's the only way to stop the clock. Otherwise, the clock starts. It ends.
Okay, so should we withdraw it and come back? Is that the best way to do this?
That we cannot advise you on that. That's a decision you have to make. But if you want to withdraw it, then you have to submit an email like right now. And we have to confirm receipt before we move on. But otherwise, if you guys don't pass a resolution or if he doesn't withdraw, this is your last chance.
All right, would you like?
I mean, maybe that's the best scenario because you guys all have, you know,
Could you get an email right now to us?
yes.
So maybe go to the next applicant
Yes.
Yeah.
and then we'll come back to this guy in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 4, new cannabis application for retail dispensary license for Joseph Smith doing business as the Yeti Club Corp. At 317 First Avenue. Is there a representative available?
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Okay, who am I speaking with?
My name is Heidi Palmer, and I will be representing the Yeti Club tonight.
Ms. Palmer, have you appeared before this committee before? Your name is familiar.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
For Smiley's?
Yes,
Are
for the
you-
Sweeney Exotic. That's
Are
correct.
you representing as a representative or as an owner?
As a representative.
I see. And, oh boy, I have some notes on this. Okay. I see that we don't have a signed lease yet.
Actually, my client Ali, he signed the lease today. We're just waiting for the landlord to sign it. If you guys allow me to, I do have a presentation for you guys. If you guys allow me to share my screen, I can show you my presentation along with this signed lease that he signed and gave the deposit to the
Right.
landlord.
Okay, like the last applicant, it has to be an executed lease, which means it's signed by both parties.
I have Ali here with me as well. He probably has more information in regards of when the landlord will sign that lease.
That's not our issue. The issue is that you have to have a signed, executed lease.
Do you have any idea why the lease was not signed? Because I know like the date on it is May 6th.
Yeah, I know that they were, the attorneys were reviewing the lease, and I guess they were doing final negotiation in regards to the lease. And that's why, I mean, they just executed the lease at the beginning of this month. So they were still, the landlord attorney and my client's attorney were reviewing the lease before they had finally executed. Like I said, Ali's on the line and he has a little more information in regards to the lease. Ali?
Yes, hi. Hello, everyone. It's me, Ali. How you doing? I actually was there today, and I did my part. I signed. The landlord wasn't able to come to the office, so she said she will sign tomorrow early and send it to me. I did my part. I signed. I notarized it. I actually went to the office that they requested from me to go to, and was just a few things that need to be changed on the lease. So the attorneys, that's why it took us a little bit time. The attorneys was working on it, and then finally today we both was supposed to sign, but she couldn't make it, and she said she'll do tomorrow. She'll sign her, but I signed my part. I did my part today.
Sir, Mr. Ali Zinani, are you affiliated or represent with Smiley's Exotics?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Are you affiliated with Smiley Exotics?
Yes.
And in what capacity are you affiliated with Smiley Exotics?
I am one of the partners.
Okay. Now, we have received numerous complaints about Smiley Exotics.
I mean, I'm happy to work on it and take care of it. I have a manager there that she's always there. She takes care of everything, and any complaints you can just tell me about it and we'll take care of it.
Are you related to Rami Al-Zinani?
No.
Chairs out there, they've got signs on the posts.
No.
Okay.
Rami Al-Zamdani?
Change their hours.
Rami?
Rami Al-Zamdani?
No.
No, okay. So just Smiley's Exotics.
Yeah, that's it.
Because we have photographs of table being set outside the establishment. People are sitting down and smoking weed. This is not part of the approval process that we expected
Change
when
their hours.
we originally approved Smiley's Exotics.
Okay, well, I give you my word and I promise you I will remove it. As soon as I finish the commentary meeting, I will contact the manager and make sure she removes all that. And I'm
Yeah, I
more
think
than
that-
happy for you guys to go anytime. And her name is Rebecca. That's the manager. And give her any complaint. She will take care of it.
Okay, we're not here to enforce the rules.
That's right.
And you're not supposed to have a sandwich sign outside either.
We took that a long time ago. We took it off. They told us about it and I took it right away. I took it off.
Okay, look. As with the previous applicant, you don't have a lease. It's gotta be executed lease. It is not executed.
I mean,
Now,
you
you have the option, as we indicated to our prior applicant, you can withdraw your application and represent it in the future. But
I mean, I can send you the lease. I give her the deposit. I did the deposit. I give them the money. I did everything today.
okay, this is a business issue. This is not a community board issue. The community board wants to ensure that you follow the procedures outlined by the Office of Cannabis Management. And one of the procedures that is required is that the lease be executed, not just signed by one party, but executed, and signed by both parties.
Okay, can I have her sign it now? I can contact her and have her sign it and I'll.
No. I would suggest that if you're near a computer, you send an email to Community Board 6 requesting withdrawal of this application. And once you have the signed lease, you can re-present this and we will consider it at that time.
Can I, no,
Okay.
but I noticed too that when I, ran the proximity, that there was, Beth Israel is within 200 feet.
They closed.
No, not the hospital. I think isn't there a
Clinic?
temple there?
Oh.
The temple Beth Israel?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because it was listed under a house of worship.
No,
It was?
regardless, it's just.
I-
Why don't we, if he's gonna withdraw, we could, suss it out a bit.
217.
I mean, because this is the sign on the OCM. It's like little praying hands.
All right.
So this shop there, isn't it?
So this is withdrawn, should we go
You know-
for this, once they do
Nothing's
something.
withdrawn
Until you get.
until we've gotten an email that it's
Right.
Requested.
Mr.
So,
Okay.
First
what
out.
I was,
Mr. Zanani,
Yes, I'm here.
I suggest that you immediately get to the computer and email.
I mean, I can bring it to you tomorrow morning if you want me.
Sir, we don't look at leases, we just ask whether they're executed. It's part of the OCM mandate.
Well, we do look.
It
at them to
is,
see
I
if
mean-
it's actually
True. Yeah. So I would suggest you send us an email withdrawing this application.
Can
And
I call the attorney and see maybe she already sent it to early this afternoon? Can I just make a phone call quick?
I think it would be more expeditious if you just email the withdrawal to us.
I already did that already.
All right.
Perfect.
All right, so it's
Did
done?
you see that?
Yeah, it's done.
all right, so we got it from,
Mhm.
So number 4 withdrew.
Yeti Club.
Yeah.
Item 4. Okay. So.
This is,
Just want to keep it
Danny
straight.
Kogan, Belrose Migrant Center, doing business as cannabis.
We got the
LLC.
receipt, we got the email from them,
So that's withdrawn, number 3? Okay.
both it sounds like.
Both of them.
Okay,
We got an email on-
You've seen the emails.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay,
so then
Got it.
they're withdrawn. If they choose to move forward, they can submit a notice to municipality again. And they'll be back on the agenda again,
Perfect.
and,
right,
Lucky us.
Just want to keep everything straight here.
okay. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
But let me ask you a question. The first step is to submit a notification. So do we need to forward a new notification first without the lease? The first step is to forward a new notification. That's without the lease. So do we need to still submit a notification, or can I still use the same notification?
you'd have to submit a new one.
So then that will be without the lease. So the first step is to submit a notification.
Yes, and
Yes.
then before you.
Okay, all right, just so we all on the same page, that's
before
fine.
You come before us, make sure you have that executed lease.
I understand that. We are working with the landlord. The leases holds from,
Again, that's. the
but you
business
cannot do
issue.
anything without the notification with OCM. That's why there was a lawsuit with the injunction. You guys gotta understand, there's a lawsuit with an injunction. So the first step is to do the notification. You guys gotta understand, there's steps. I know it's worked backwards, unfortunately, with the OCM. And that's why we have to do the first step is the notification, unfortunately.
Yeah.
This is working backwards. I understand what you're saying. There's no
Yeah, we-
logic behind it.
Sir, we look forward to meeting you again in a short while with all the appropriate signed leases in hand.
Execute.
Thank you for signed executed leases in hand. Thank you very much. Item number 5, alteration of wine, beer and cider license for Fiscardo Incorporated doing business as Orion Diner and Grill of 395 Second Avenue.
Hi.
Is there a representative here?
Yes, my name is Andy from ABC License, representing Fiscardo INC. Doing business as Orion Diner and Grill. Last month, I attended the meeting for the sidewalk cafe application and the alteration together. However, because the license was currently inactive due to a late renewal, we couldn't approve the alteration. However, right now, currently, the restaurant wine license is currently active, so I'm looking forward. I'm here to
I'm sorry, you broke up. Currently what, the restaurant?
the restaurant wine license is currently active.
Is currently
Active. They have an
active.
active license. So
Because that was the issue
to,
last month.
approve the alteration.
Brian, did we check that? Because the last thing I saw was not active.
Yeah, when I had checked on SLA Lamb, it was inactive
It
That
just came
for this
active as of
meeting?
today, this morning.
as of this morning.
Well, technically yesterday, but Lamp updated it today.
We had heard from SLA that they had made moves to reinstate the license, because went inactive a year ago.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
That's right.
And I think they also serve cocktails and,
You had mentioned that you had called their restaurant asking.
yeah.
If alcohol was served there. You had mentioned that the person on the phone told you yes.
So,
We did let SLA know. And so
And
can you tell us, what has SLA told you about all of this?
so I want to clarify something. The reason why the restaurant was serving cocktails is because they had an active on-premise liquor license, full liquor. That one, however, we had to that application is currently withheld, so we are going back to restaurant wine. Which is why you probably will not be able to see cocktails anymore on the menu.
As we spoke to SLA about a week ago, and they did confirm that your wine license was expired for about a year. But that in late April, possibly after our meeting, you guys contacted the SLA looking to reinstate it.
Yes, that was because we had the on-premise license, the full liquor license.
Because we didn't see any, when we look on the New York State Liquor Authority map, and we put in your address, that did not come up. Is it showing active now, Brian?
It says license effective date, May 12th.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Did they make you guys pay a fine?
Yes.
Okay, so you have an active wine, beer, cider license,
That's what it says.
okay, but not liquor.
No liquor.
Okay, so now we're looking for an alteration, now that there is a license in effect for wine, beer license for your diner.
Yes, the sidewalk
Now,
cafe.
you also have a DOT application in for sidewalk dining.
Yes, I think that was approved last month.
Are they serving liquor up there?
Okay,
Well, that's what this request
Yeah.
is.
That's what I was wondering.
Jesus, has that reached us?
You guys did
Isn't
that
that
last
what
time?
this-
Yeah, we did.
isn't
Okay,
that this-
okay.
And this one is just the adding serving alcohol.
Yeah, okay, but we wanted to make sure you, before you get an alteration license, you have to have the original.
original, right.
Yeah,
Right.
okay, I don't have any further questions. Any committee members? Community members?
No, I think this is kind of the scenario that we talked about
Yeah.
last month of.
Okay,
Motion of no objection.
Yeah.
Is that the right
Yeah.
phrasing of it?
yeah.
Or is it to approve? No, this,
No, no,
this
no,
is
that's
not
for the sidewalk dining.
yeah, it's I'm hammering it in my.
So, who seconded?
Honestly, it might be better just to do a no comment on this one. That way, given all the weirdness happening with it, and it's easier on us to do no comments.
We don't rubber
Yeah,
stamp.
Works for me.
Works for me too.
I said, what I said was a motion of no comment.
Okay, and the second?
Second.
Okay. All right, Brian?
Okay,
Please don't be back to work.
so we don't have text to send or to.
It will just be internal, and there won't be
Yeah.
a text to send.
Cause it's not a red.
Yeah, the SLA doesn't really make a distinction between no comment and no objection. And really, their ears only perk up if we have something negative to say. So it might be best to sort of transition away to only commenting when we want to say bad things.
Okay.
Whoa.
All right.
I don't like that, it's just a vibe.
You know, having said that, rather than write through a whole
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
resolution, I suggest that we take a vote on the basis of no comment or
Yes.
to be determined.
So we'll now take a vote on no
Not
comment
commenting.
letter for an alteration for a wine, beer and cider. Spargo, doing business as Orion Diner and Grill, 395 Second Avenue. When I call your name, please answer in favor, opposed.
And Mr.
abstained.
Hahn is a principal or a representative?
He's a representative. So when I call your name, please answer in favor, stay or not entitled. Page start.
Raise your hand. What that means.
Page, sorry, we can see you, but
Okay, I'm for this.
In favor, okay, thank you. John Keller,
In favor.
thank you. Anton Mulder,
In favor.
Dan Severn,
In favor.
thank you. Sarah Whittington,
In favor.
thank you. Justin Goldberg,
In favor.
thank you. Michael Enroe,
In favor.
thank you. 7 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining, 0 not entitled, the motion passes.
Thank you, sir. Good luck.
Thank you.
Is everybody at Orion? This has been there for like
Yeah,
98
forever,
years, yeah. Okay.
The longest set discussion. No, I'm sorry.
Okay, item number 6, discussion of New York State Office of Cannabis Management's proposed changes, ease, proximity restrictions of retail dispensaries for public convenience and advantageous standards. Now, as I recall, the proposal is to shrink the 1,000-foot rule between cannabis dispensaries to 500 feet. Now, we're not talking
Make matters worse.
about whether we consider 200 feet to a school or 500 feet to a school or 200 feet to a house of worship. You know, whether it's on the same street or whatever,
Yeah,
but we can discuss that as well. But
Mhm.
in terms of going from 1,000 feet to 500 feet, 1,000 feet is about 4.5 city blocks.
yeah,
500 feet is half of that. So my feeling is that, my personal feeling is, I think 1,000 feet will stay in effect. If you live in the city, you're not gonna be more than 2.5 blocks from a cannabis shop if they're 1,000 feet apart on the same street, for instance. So, I'd like to hear, members of the committee, what they think. Yes, Anne.
I had basically the same reaction and I like kudos to CB2 for their hard work on this resolution. And I also kind of applaud that they are not commenting on other cities, other municipalities in New York State that we are talking about in New York. And I feel like it kind of even beyond that, we are talking about our own community, like our community board. And I feel like we could have a really short reso on this saying, no, like, don't change it. You know, like, we don't need this. So,
Okay.
I mean, none of the, in fact, pretty much none of like all the urban morphology issues are not particularly relevant to us. We do have a couple of super blocks, but nothing that is significant.
Yeah, I agree with Ann. First of all, this is a very thoughtful piece of work, but I think we can be very simple here. And I agree with the 1,000-foot rule. I think it makes just a lot of good common sense. So
Yeah.
that's my personal.
I mean, I personally feel like that. I wish we would talk in terms of capping how many is allowed in one community as opposed to the 1,000 feet or the 500, whatever. It's just about the footprint that is on the community this is my personal opinion. I feel the same way about the footprint of shelters. Our community, Murray Hill, it has a lot. So it's like, what can you endure? You know, what does your community start to look like when you have,
Well, I think with 1,000 feet, that it becomes a self-limiting factor
Yeah.
in terms of
Mhm.
locations of cannabis dispensaries.
I mean, we haven't talked about the fact that these landlords are taking bribes. We haven't even brought that up. This is just my opinion.
As the
We're
Office of
talking about
Cannabis
it.
Management say, that's a business decision.
Yeah, well, It's outright, no.
Yeah.
I wanna mention one thing. Are you done?
Go
Do
ahead.
you want, okay, I was gonna say that, I mean, when this legislation came, or when, recreational marijuana was allowed, I got the sense that it wasn't a final decision, it was kind of a discussion, how we were gonna have it in our community. So I think, I see this as less as a big change, just part of the continued discussion.
Yeah.
I feel like, from everything that's been going on, just listening to I think his name's Danny, right? The backwardness and the way OCM has thrown this together and,
Well,
it's just really hard on us too.
this is something that's been discussed before you even joined the committee.
Well, I was watching a lot last year when that Smiley's got approved. And I have the list of how they changed and never came out of the gate the way they said they were gonna come out of the gate. Signs outside, things plastered on the poles, they changed their delivery times, it was never a delivery, they did retail right off the top, when they said it wasn't gonna be retail.
We're talking about general kind of Office of Cannabis Management Regulations,
Yeah.
okay? Again, as I've said to the gentleman who represented a couple of the applicants here, we are not here to enforce the law,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay? We're here to represent the community. And if in fact, as we saw last time, somebody wants to open a legal cannabis shop when there are 2 illegal cannabis shops across the street or down the block, the most we can do as a board is, have the office
Right.
dial
But this is
311 or represent to the community. Look, this is your community. If you don't agree with these illegal shops, there is a portal, on the Office of Cannabis Management's website
Yeah.
that you can use. You can attach photos to it. And as I've done also in a couple times, in a fair period of time, week or 2 week, the sheriff will be visiting them and closing the shop.
Well,
was
you
one
say the rules.
At 45th Street and Second
Yeah.
Avenue, they, not only did they get closed, but they broke the locks and opened again. So that's a felony. And again, they were closed down. But again, we're not here to enforce, we're here to represent the community, like we represent the community in terms of what's happening with the old Hallmark shop, Flintstone. And we have said basically what the community has felt, that's not appropriate. Now, whether the Office of Cannabis Management respects that, that's another story altogether. I know I walk by Flintstone and it looks like it's really, what can I say?
But like CB2 is doing, they are trying to have amended, but coming up with this resolution, some kind of amendment to these so-called 500 feet rule. There's nothing wrong with us coming up about our own requests and resolution about,
Well, I think our resolution would be that we do not support the OCM in reducing the 1,000-foot rule to anything less than 1,000
Yeah.
feet,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
And I think, as I talking with Jesus earlier, you don't see liquor stores
Right.
one after the other.
Yeah.
Because the liquor store owners have that very strong lobby, and they made sure that there's not another liquor store within X amount of feet of their premises, which would give them competition. I would think that people open cannabis dispensaries would feel the same way.
And you also feel like, I mean, just as a business decision,
Yes.
do you wanna open
Mhm.
within 2 blocks of a competitor?
Yeah.
Right.
So, I don't know where the Office of Cannabis Management came up with this, or what kind of pressure they were getting. But the fact is that, I think it's inappropriate to locate dispensary less than 1,000 feet from no dispensary. And I believe we're talking about not on the same block with a radius.
Yeah, and
Right.
that's another thing, I wish
Which is-
it was about the same block.
Yes, sir.
One more quick comment I wanted to say is that this is, I mean, as you see by, Jessica's letter today and just in general, or I think we can all anticipate this is just gonna be a situation that escalates as more of these places show up. So I think, and then we'll get more and more pressure as well. So I think this is, good to address the issue.
But before it gets out of hand.
Yeah.
Exactly. Do I hear a consensus from the committee? Is
There's a
that,
member of the public who wishes.
Oh, great.
oh, I'm sorry. Who's speaking?
Allow, Ms. Cohen?
Yeah, it's Melissa Cohen. I don't know if you can see me, but I think you can hear me.
Yeah, you can hear you.
I just wanted to say thank you. I agree completely with everything that you just said. I attended the meeting last month too. Um, I just don't see any reason why we would need to have two locations that are less than 1,000 feet from each other. And I know a lot of different members of the community feel the same way. I've been a resident of Murray Hill for 25 years. And I just don't feel that these locations really add value to our neighborhood. I understand they're legal. I understand they have a right to be there. But I definitely agree with everything you've said. And so I just want to say thank you. I definitely support not having restriction be lessened or be lowered. So thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank
comment.
you.
Thanks for coming
And do we have any?
again.
Yes.
Make sure those. Yeah, I don't see any other raised hands. Any members of the public, do you wish to speak? No. I don't see any raised hands.
Okay, do I hear a resolution of objection to the Office of Cannabis Management suggesting that the distance between dispensaries be reduced from 1,000 feet to, I think it was 500 feet,
I think that's right, yeah.
and that,
If I don't have to repeat it, I'll make that motion.
do I hear a second?
Second.
So we have a resolution opposing the proposed public convenience and advantage regulations. And this is a draft. Whereas Manhattan Community Board 6 represents over 155,000 New Yorkers in Manhattan Community District 6, which stretches from 14th to 59th Streets from the East River to Lexington Avenue and extending west of Madison Avenue between 30th and 40th Streets. Whereas the Cannabis Control Board and the New York State Office of Cannabis Management have released proposed public convenience management regulations for public review. Whereas under the proposed public convenience and advantage regulations, the 1,000-foot minimum distance between cannabis dispensaries would be cut in half. Specifically, applicants would be allowed to seek waivers to site a new cannabis dispensary within 500 to 1,000 feet of an existing duly licensed shop, so long as the existing shop has been operating for at least 9 months, and the applicant has demonstrated to the Cannabis Control Board that issuing a license for the location would promote public convenience and advantage. No license would be approved for any location within a 1,000-foot radius of 2 other licenses issued the same license type sought by the applicant. No license would be approved for any location that is within a 500-foot radius of a duly licensed cannabis retail dispensary. Whereas in December 2024, CB6 submitted a letter during the first public comment period for the proposed public convenience and advantage regulations in which we oppose any weakening of the 1,000-foot rule.
That's where it stops, because we didn't know which way the committee would go. We couldn't write the resolution without knowing
You
your
did
thoughts.
Great job.
Listen,
I read all the regs.
there's a issue about the Latin over here.
About the, yes.
I have to say too, I don't know that it's relevant since we're going for something pretty simple. I thought it was pretty interesting. What CV2 did in terms of sort of describing what they thought were good considerations for what made public convenience. I'm not sure, I don't think it's relevant to this, but I felt like I really learned something from it.
Yeah, they are very good with their
They really are.
resolutions. Okay, in the spirit of what will be written, and with our agreement about the 1,000-foot rule, I think we should take a roll call vote, and
Well, I mean, since you guys are
Just
going
one
to,
paragraph.
you have a thought already, we might as well just write it out.
Yeah.
There is,
One paragraph.
yeah, at this point, it's just do the resolve.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yes, sir.
How, I'm just curious, how far is 1,000 feet? Like if I'm at a block, I'm at 30,
Four and a half city blocks.
Streets,
so if I'm, let's say it's 43rd,
not avenue, 43rd.
would be
so
like 39-ish?
39, 38. The city
only
block is
40
blocks,
typically,
right?
a city block is typically
It's
Why?
200 feet.
Why?
250 feet
Well,
plus
plus the
30 feet
intersection,
for the
right, the crossing.
crossing.
Oh,
Oh, I thought it was 250 with the crossing.
oh,
Uh,
so it's
when I
like
looked
3
it up, it
blocks.
was two hundred
I'm
and
sure
sixty-four
you're
feet
right.
center to center.
I just always remember 20 blocks was a mile growing up,
Yes.
like that was,
264 feet.
right.
Yeah.
Is that what you said? You said
It's been
263.
3 blocks.
64
Okay, that's
feet.
good.
I thought you said 263.
Oh,
Oh, okay. I was giving you a hard time. You're off by a foot. No, but it's just, okay, it's 3.8 blocks.
3.8. There you go.
3.8.
3.8,
That's why we're trying to clarify.
just before 47.
Opposes the proposed
You know.
public convenience and advantage regulations and urges.
Or is it amendments to it? Because aren't there already public convenience and
Yes.
advances? So shouldn't it be proposes the proposed.
We had that in there,
amendments to it?
but it was so wordy, we didn't want to put people, but yes, technically, you're correct. Propose amendments to the public convenience and advantage regulations and strongly urges. CCB and OCM. We'll spell that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where they are.
God, you're reading my mind.
Maintain the 1,000-foot
Yeah,
Rule.
minimum distance between
yeah.
dispensaries.
Do we want to add current, the current?
Wait, there's 1,000-foot radius.
1,000-foot
Yeah. Yes.
Radius, that's very important.
It is very important, because it's not like walking how many feet,
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
So just to like conceptualize next
Between
time,
cannabis
looking,
dispensaries.
it's almost like the dip, if you think about it the other way, it's like Lexington to about almost Fifth Avenue, so it's pretty,
Is cannabis a proper
Well,
noun?
it's a-
I don't think so.
it's 1,100 feet.
Okay.
Only if you're talking about
Almost.
the.
Lexington Park, Madison.
Proper noun.
That's,
He had
that's
a
above.
capital
Little bit.
Right.
Imagine like a
Someone thinks very highly of cannabis.
Well, it seems.
Well, actually, okay, and I think
License,
this is
yeah,
actually,
I'm sorry.
well,
Okay,
it's not,
Also, I think 1,000 would take care of the issue of density.
So maybe now you guys should vote.
there was something,
Yeah,
there was an
that's-
admirable
yeah.
It's pretty
phrase
far,
there that I
or
think
it's-
should have been.
Think about Lexington
taken
Avenue,
in.
all the way to about Fifth Avenue, that's 1,100.
A duly licensed, that's it.
It's a little more.
It's a gray area.
It just
Really?
feels like.
I would not have.
Overdo
Why?
that.
I
I'm
wouldn't.
gonna put them right next
But
to you.
I mean, duly licensed
Means
is
to
an
have Miley's
right.
at
Yeah.
the bottom of a brownstone, like the first one. I mean,
Read
seriously,
it like that, but
that was,
that was,
I
that was
am
not
not
my question.
passionate.
Where's Smalley's?
Smiley's
Okay.
been in the bottom of the brownstone.
All right,
on
let's see the
Fremont Street,
resolution.
Residential street, it's down the street from the community center. I mean, what more could you like?
Where is that?
So the resolution, the first whereas essentially just this is what CB thinks is. The next few whereases just sort of summarize what the process is and what the proposed 5 pages of regs says. It goes into further details about sort of the process for the waiver and everything. But if you guys are not going to support that, you want 1,000-foot or, you know, over my dead body type thing, then I don't know the point in going and summarizing. And so,
Another capital, oh, sorry, that is a proper noun.
let's be careful changing some of those things because they were quotes. Some of them may be quotes. But we'll deal with that.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I think it says the board, but I just put in there CCB since we've mentioned cannabis control
Right.
before, so that would have to be in brackets.
Yeah, it's what I'm seeing that tonight. I wasn't here, but.
Okay.
So it's files.
But if folks are okay with this, essentially
Settings.
reinforcing your December position that 1,000 feet is what it should be between radius between cannabis dispensaries. End of story. If that's your position, this resolution, I believe, articulates that. And it should be ready for your vote.
What do you think, guys?
Right. Moved and seconded.
There's one more, be it further resolved, dummy paragraph, we can get rid of that.
Right.
And there was one, be it further resolved, we took this from CB2's reso.
Oh, yeah.
But I, you know,
Why not?
take it or leave it.
No, I,
Mhm.
yeah.
It should be there.
Yeah, could be, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Good language, another time. All resonates.
All right, so, when I call it name, please answer in favor, opposed, abstain, or not, by the. Page Drive,
In favor.
thank you. John Keller,
In favor?
thank you. Anton Mullen,
Favor?
thank you. Ann Seligman,
In favor.
thank you. Sarah Whittington,
In favor.
thank you. Justin Goldberg,
In favor.
thank you. Michael Enroe.
In favor.
Thank you. With 7 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining, and 0 not entitled, the motion passed.
Okay, very good. Okay, Chair's report. Just a couple of short things. I think we should consider something, a resolution drafted to the Cannabis Control Board regarding distances between a dispensary and house of worship and or a school. Now, currently the regulations are written, it's got to be on the same block. Doesn't make a lot of sense if the school is around the corner, 100
Yeah.
feet.
Exactly.
And I think, again, my personal feeling is that it shouldn't be defined as on the same block, but in a radius of X feet from a school or house of worship. Now, New York State law does define schools. Okay, what is considered a school? And I think we've seen some objections, there's a school 100 feet away, but you look at it, it's not really a school, it's something else that
Yeah.
calls itself a school.
And in fact, isn't there on the OCM website, there's a like youth enhancement or
Yes,
like something?
there are definitions there, right?
Yeah.
So perhaps they could be tightened up, but I think the larger issue is radius as opposed to.
Yeah, that's why I
You
like
know,
that
I think
word.
some of these regulations are written for what's happening upstate.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, you have a school in the same block and it's.
Mhm.
There's only one main road through town.
Right.
It doesn't work here in New York City. And,
Yeah.
I'd like to think about that. Maybe the next time we meet, we can put together a resolution. Just, question, Jesus, do you know if any other community boards have thought about this, radius as opposed to same block, same street?
It's likely, I don't know what all the other boards are doing on this particular subject, but it's likely. Though if our resolution is particularly good, we could perhaps shop it around and get,
Uh-huh.
you know, more support that way.
Now, I know you meet with other, business managers. Perhaps this is a subject that can be brought up.
Yes, I can ask them about this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But a good place to start is, this is what the current regulations are, quote directly from the regulate, because there's a lot of.
Mhm.
Yes.
there. And then this is what we want them to be.
Yeah.
That's a good place to start.
Okay, so we got, I guess, 2 weeks to the next meeting? Yes, who is this?
Paige,
Paige?
like to speak? Paige?
Okay, I would like like to include that a building should, since we're in Manhattan and every building, if they have the opportunity, is multi-usage. When we couldn't use a school at the Episcopal Church because of the Hallmark store, the reasoning being was it wasn't a single-use building. I think that should be brought up also, that we are in a major city and that's not a feasible.
Right, there are buildings with multiple uses, including churches or schools. They also have other types of businesses included. And I think the OCM rules are that it's got to be like a standalone structure exclusively used as a school or a house of worship. It's not possible in many instances in
That's
New York City.
interesting, yeah.
And make the case like we're talking about, like Manhattan, like you said, Manhattan's not like other communities, like, you know. It's,
Even in Brooklyn and Queens. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, okay. All right, the other thing I want to just.
So just for the minute, so you want a next step on that? I mean,
Mhm.
just what do you want me to record in terms of?
In terms of, that we're gonna think about it and discuss it further at our next meeting.
So.
The other thing I wanted to bring up was,
Keep in mind that already there's looking like 35 things on the agenda for your meeting.
all right, we'll stop right here.
Special meeting.
Oh, no, I mean, as you're adding more to the next meeting, I'm just saying, keep that in mind.
Yeah, nice reminder.
Do we,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to cut your chair's report short, you know, you still have, you're making good time right now. but
Okay.
Next.
I know.
I was gonna suggest that, because like Jessica's email and everything, that it might be worthwhile to have a little bit of community input for two. I think having people's perspectives from the community, I know everyone's welcome to join, but making it clear that we'd like to hear back from them on the call will make our will, I think, be more effective in OCM listening to us. It's not just, our committee saying something, it's also, which represents the community, but it's.
Are you gonna be participating in the festival this weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if it be for you to make a little flyer that.
I could talk to Jessica about it.
Please share your opinion
Yeah.
at the community board on this
Yeah,
matter. And
that's a
she
good
meets
idea,
with Jessica, the other lady her name is
Okay.
Jill. And then.
That's a good idea. we'll talk after.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll talk to
What's
Jessica
this
about that.
involved? I mean, it's a mystery to a few also. What's happening this
It's
weekend?
by Park Avenue Day. It's just a Hill, Park Avenue Day happens.
Yeah, and if it's gonna get a lot of traffic and. that's a
But I'm
great
on,
time.
I'm
Put out a
I'm friends with
little flyer.
Jessica, so we can talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would just like to say that this, email from Ms. Lavoy,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it really opened my eyes because I looked at this and I assumed it was not a legal store, and I was wrong. It's a legal store that's improperly.
Yeah.
doing business. That's another whole set of issues.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, fine that we approve legal stores, but it's up to the OCM and the sheriff's
Right,
department. to
Yeah.
enforce
to
it.
the enforcement, yeah.
And I think that's an issue that's been extant since almost the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
Yes,
had,
Sam.
I had one other thought. It kind of builds on what Justin was saying, which is that, I wonder about on our questionnaire, like on the SLA questionnaires, we ask if, businesses are subject to proximity rules. I wonder if that makes sense to, don't we ask if there's subject to the 500-foot rule?
yeah, and there's also a ticker on the application.
Yeah,
It
but-
talks about the 500-foot.
right, and so I'm wondering if it makes sense to add that to the cannabis questionnaire. Yeah, like what they,
Yeah, right, we have the SLA questionnaire,
Uh-huh.
CB6,
Oh, I
and
see.
he's saying for the CB6 cannabis questionnaire.
right,
To add another box
a
or.
question asking, are you subject to these rules? Or even just ask, what's the closest church? What's the closest school? What's the closest other?
They don't ask those questions already?
No, we ask whether they have a signed lease, executed lease.
Yeah.
But we don't ask about the proximity. I don't know if that's, I mean,
That's-
the OCM does have proximity
say,
protection.
that already.
You can just go
Yeah.
up to it and check it.
I mean, that's what, I mean, I've been doing, but I don't know, I guess in some ways I think about it as another way to suss out whether somebody is sort of acting in good faith.
Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes you wanna, like I wanted to ask this guy, I was like, well, you opened Smiley's and you were what you said you were
Okay,
gonna be.
you know, again, we're getting into a situation where we're assuming that stuff we get should have been vetted by whatever authority, and it
Right.
appears that is not happening.
Always the
all time.
case,
Always the
yes.
case.
And again, I'm just thinking about this as a process
Yeah.
issue, but it's not a biggie. I mean, it's just something that occurred to me
We'll
today.
think about it, but
Cause I was like, oh, don't we ask that? And I was like, no, that's SLA application, so.
But now that you guys know that at least two of these that were withdrawn tonight are probably gonna come back.
Mhm.
Get your complaints in order, because it does seem like you weren't entirely comfortable with them. Get those things in order, so that we can start collecting those for a resolution.
Right.
Because if you're gonna need to, my impression is that OCM defaults to, we want to approve everything.
Yeah.
And if they are relying on us to tell them
Why?
that this is why that's not a good idea.
I'll send you my list from Smiley's.
So,
okay,
And not for nothing, I've had terrible experiences with Cohen's Fashion Optical. Like, not even things, whatever. I'm happy to go on the record on that one.
okay. Any members of the committee have any old or new business, please raise your hand.
did you go
Glasses.
through all your chair's report points? I didn't think to.
Yeah, I
wanted
just
to
threw
say-
out some thoughts for next meeting.
Yeah, but I just wanna add,
Yes,
if we have a long meeting coming up, which I think we do,
It sounds
with
good.
a lot of,
Sounds like it.
restaurants to review. I am willing to go, and I have gone out into the community
Oh,
to
yeah.
check these
oh, yeah,
places
that's,
out.
yeah, that's
That
what I,
sounds good.
yeah.
I would continue to
You
do
know,
that.
thought has been given to, okay,
Yes.
you live in certain
We can
part, you live in another part, you could take this blocks and report back to the committee
Mhm.
whether they've got the sign on the door, that they're,
Yeah,
or if it looks like this establishment is decent.
All right.
whether it will in fact hold 74 people.
Oh, right.
10 square feet.
Exactly.
It does not. Anyway, let's give thought, and we can perhaps next meeting or whatever, say, okay, you're assigned these blocks. And I'm going to assign those blocks and assign the whole area, and
I walk a lot, so I get down to
That's
15th
great.
Street.
all right,
At least, yeah.
That's good. I need to.
okay, any more business for the committee? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion.
Okay, no objection?
Yeah.
Okay, meeting is adjourned at 8 o'clock. PM.
Hallelujah. That'll never happen again.